Echo the stories that ignite a fire inside.
Welcome to another powerful episode of Echoes of Wellington, and I'm your host, Wellington Osazuwa. I hope you found our previous episodes interesting. Like I always say, I encourage us to share this podcast, this information is actually meant for the immigrant communities here in the diaspora, because we do believe that some of the stories and the stories we share here, the real life lived experiences of immigrants, that some of the experiences they share are things that we all would benefit from. And so I encourage us to like, share, comment as well. Let us know what you think about the content we're putting out there, and also subscribe to this channel. And then just to add this, we will be having segments coming up soon where you, the viewers, will be given opportunities to ask questions, specific questions that you would want either myself or my guest, to answer. Just send those questions across and we'll have the segment where we look at those questions and answer them based on our experience and what we know from this part of the world. So today we are excited. I'm excited to have a chat with another immigrant who is doing great stuff here in the diaspora as well and has some very good, insightful experience to share with us from his own personal story and also what he's observed. Particularly today, we'll be really hammering on the immigrants' experience within the workspace environment and how to better navigate some of the challenges that we face. There are a lot of funny stories and touching stories and of immigrants, the experiences they have within work environment and workspaces. I even have mine to share as well. So sit tight even as we embark on this conversation and add my guest's voice to our sanctuary of voices that we echo across time and space, and generations coming will benefit from. So once again, you're welcome, and I'd like to introduce my guest today. He's a powerful man. He's a powerful man and he's very loaded. So join me, and even as we welcome Peter, I call him Mr. P, to this conversation with me. So Peter, you're welcome to Echoes of Wellington, and I'm really thankful that you are great to come have this chat with me. We've had some talk before, and I just said, hey, man, your well of wisdom that you've gathered within this past couple of years in Canada, especially within the workspace, I thought, no, we need to share this because I believe a lot of people have stuff to learn as well. So you're welcome.
Thank you very much.
Peter has been in Canada for like 7.5 years, came in 2018, and he's done several things.
Yes.
He's done several things. But like I said, today we'll just major really on the workplace and the experiences we have. Now let me start by let's start this conversation with just 2 minutes of my own experience. I remember when I came into Canada 2021, landed in Halifax, right? I'm an accountant. So my very first job was with one of the big fours. I know you have big four experience. Was with one of the big fours. Now, because as soon as we landed, I wouldn't say it was a mistake I made. Sometimes we land and we rush things as immigrants. We rush, we want to do, want to achieve stuff. And then sometimes you take more than, you've not even settled or understood the environment, you just jump in. So what my wife and I did was, the moment we landed, a few months down the line, we jumped on CPA because we both had ICANN from Nigeria, but we needed to do some other exams to get the CPA certification, right? So we jumped on CPA immediately, and it was during COVID. I remember I started working with a big four. My brother, my head was like a madhouse. It was like I was going crazy. The pressure on the job. Now, most of these organizations don't care whether you are just coming into a country. They don't want to know whether you are an immigrant coming from a completely different cultural background. Mm-hmm. One of the things one of the biggest shocker I had on that particular job, on that role, first of all, was that they don't do training. Like they are not patient enough to say, let's onboard you. in Nigeria, I worked with Zenith Bank. If a new person joins Zenith Bank, what Zenith Bank would do is they will pair that new person to somebody who is experienced to, is it shoulder something like you learn on.
Yes.
So 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, you're just learning, and then before you know it, they give you password. When they give you password, you start posting some small transactions that will not, result to big risk if anything crystallizes gradually, and then they start increasing your password limits until you are grounded. So, but I noticed that here, you just start a job, within 2 weeks, they throw you into the ring to start fighting for your life.
Yep.
The expectation is already very high, especially when you are an immigrant. I don't know if they do that to their own people, but that's what happened to me. In a big four, during busy season, I know you know what busy season is, and then I was trying to survive with studying for CPA. My brother, I almost died. I will close from work 10 o'clock. I'm still working in the office at home. Pressure. And then with pressure, you'll be prone to more errors. Your supervisor would make you feel like you don't know what you're doing. Within the first couple of months on that job, I practically almost lost my self-confidence because I was like, I thought I was a superstar from my country. What's going on here? Is it I can't get anything right? Back to back to back. So that was the first baptism I had.
Yeah.
I did that job for like 8 months and I resigned, and then I started settling in gradually.
Mm-hmm.
So that was my experience.
Yeah.
So tell me, what was your own first shocker, your first job in Canada when you came in 2018, and what were some of those shockers you experienced on the job?
I would say, like you, I had very similar experience. Not to compare, but I would say it was tough because even prior to coming in 2018, I already had Big Four experience from Nigeria. So in my mind, it was going to be a walk in the park.
Mm.
And like you said, it's a sink or swim environment. And I remember in my first week, I actually went to the washroom and I cried. I asked myself, did I really just make the right decision for my life? Because things were moving at an astronomical speed and I was just trying to grab what was happening. I think for me, it was as bad as, like you said, a lot of self-doubts started happening. In short, that was when I first came across the word imposter syndrome, where you feel like,
exactly,
I don't think I'm measuring up. Like maybe something is wrong with me. Like you said, the onboarding is not adequate. And not to make any excuses for them, I think most of these companies, especially the HR, they are not used to dealing with immigrants. Now, for most of them, they come in as co-op students and they, ease them into the process.
Yeah.
But for most of us who come in as experienced hires, we come in right in the neck of things and they expect us to perform magic.
Yeah.
And usually it doesn't go well. One of the basic problems beyond onboarding is you're somewhat alienated. So you're not integrated into the system. You're trying to figure out things on your own. Things are moving very, very fast. Before you know, you're already hitting the boiling point where you're losing it.
Yeah.
I remember starting in one of the Big Fours too, and there were days when I would walk a whole week stretch back to back without getting home just to meet up. And it felt like it wasn't enough. And I started, asking myself, okay, what am I not doing? What am I not doing well? What am I not doing right? And it took a long time before I started speaking up to like other immigrants who were in the system.
Yeah.
And it turned out that we're all going through the same thing.
Yeah.
But nobody was saying anything.
Yeah, for sure.
So everyone was just in their little cubicle.
Yeah.
Experiencing the same pressure.
Yeah.
Experiencing the same imposter syndrome in quotes and not knowing how to figure out things. And I think one of the things that helped is we found strength in numbers. So we were able to create a community to encourage ourselves. However, sometimes I feel like when some of these companies hire immigrants, it feels like you're just a D&I statistic. right? They don't really care about
What's
onboarding,
D&I? Just
diversity and inclusion. So because Canada is a very diverse environment, most of the companies try to have a diversified profile, even within their workforce. So they always want to hire at least people of color within the workforce. However, they don't take into cognizance that we all have different backgrounds, different experiences, and the onboarding process doesn't really work. So we find out that a lot of people experience burnout early and they end up leaving the profession ultimately. So your experience was very, very similar to mine. I even thought I had a chance of coping because I had experiences before coming here, but I couldn't. And like you, after 8 months, I resigned. I couldn't take it because I couldn't, not sleeping. And one of the hardest part of the job was the lack of integration. You work on a team and you can be in a room 8 hours, nobody speaks to you, nobody says hi, nobody says anything, everybody's just busy. And they go home, come back the next day. So you don't really feel like you're part of the team. And I don't think they do it deliberately. I think they just don't know how to relate with you. Right. And that made it also very, very hard because in Big Four, you work in teams and we rely on the team dynamics a lot. But it didn't really go well. And I think that is the experience of almost anybody who has come in at an experience level into some of all these professional services firms.
Yeah, so that's when you just said, "Hey, it's not peculiar to me alone." Just reminds me of there's a verse in scripture. I think it's 1 Peter 5:9. It says, "Stand firm, knowing that this temptation and trials you're going through is not peculiar to you alone. It is common amongst the brethren." And that's why we're having this conversation because a lot of people go through the same thing, the same experience. So. What I think the next question I want to ask is: do you have maybe you or maybe you saw someone? Did you ever experience? Do you have any particular experience to share of a challenge you had on your job, like something you had to really struggle with, that either gave you that put you in a position where you had to really struggle? Was there something like an opposition, something like that you particular experience you want to share?
I think I have lots of experience to share, even both directly and indirectly. Because, and I think one of the challenges, and being very specific to an experience, was understanding the Canadian culture. So things like when you're having a conversation with a person and they give you an instruction in a suggestive format. It took me a long time to understand that.
Yeah.
When somebody says, "Do you want to send me that working paper?" And in my head, I'm like, I either have the option of saying yes or no.
Right.
But in Canadian culture, that's actually an instruction. So it took a while to understand that, okay, our communication pattern is different. I think that was one challenge. Another challenge was just in terms of working with people. Not a lot of people, and that is core Canadians, have the exposure and the maturity to deal with immigrants. The people who better cope with working with immigrants are people who have either traveled a lot or who are very exposed and have had interactions with other people outside their race. Particularly, I remember I worked on a particular job and everything was just wrong. Like, it just felt like me and this superior of mine were just not on the same page. And my expectation would have been, we have a meeting or have a conversation to say, what is the challenge? How can we work through the challenge? But this person just totally locked.
Won't even talk to you.
Won't even talk to you. I'm a very interactive person. I even tried so many times, like, okay, is there anything you want me to work on? They'll be like, no, everything is fine. But everything isn't fine.
Everything isn't fine.
So just understanding that Canadian culture too, I think it takes a while for you to know that, okay, on your own, you need to check yourself to know if you're on the right path or not, and also check with your peers. Because if you rely on the Nigerian way, where your superiors will always tell you, "Oh, I'm not happy."
Like if they're not happy, they tell you.
They tell you to your face.
Nigeria,
But here it's totally different because they try to be nice, and even when they try to have structured conversation, the sandwich method is so confusing because somebody's trying to complain about your work, but then they're giving you praises and
Yeah.
they're very sublime. So you're not even sure
You're not even
if
sure, yeah.
you're on the right footing or not. And I remember particularly on that engagement, it took the audit partner to call me to a meeting. She'll be like, "Oh, have you seen this working paper before?" I'll be like, "No." She said, "Okay, in this working paper, we try to do this." And I'll be like, "Oh yeah, I have something similar." And she'll be like, "Oh, have you seen this working paper before?" I'll be like, "No." Then she opens it up and tries to explain. I'll be like, "Oh yeah, I've done something similar." So it just showed that it was breakdown of communication. Whereas when one person just assumed that I didn't know what I was doing and just totally ignored me, another person tried to figure out what the issue was. So in most cases, you wouldn't find people who are very gracious, who would want to understand maybe what the problem is. They just summarily write you off, and then you're alienated, you're just in a corner, and then you get to the point where you can't take it and you just either find a way to move on or they strategically move you out. That has always been the case.
Yeah. The strategic, I like they strategically move you out. That happens a lot. I've seen a lot of persons that they just get an email and say, "Hey, you're under probation." No prior conversation.
Yes.
No, nothing. No, hey, let's even help you get better. You know, one of the challenges I also know that a lot of us face is that when we come into the workspace in this part of the world from Africa, we find that the workspace, like we find the pace very fast.
Yes.
Do you agree? Did you experience something like that?
Yes.
For me, for one of the simplest example is, just from even typing, responding to stuff, just typing, the way they do theirs and the way they speak, the way they rush things. That was something I was trying to, for me, it was a lot. Did you experience anything like that?
Yes, I did. And honestly, it's a fundamental difference between African immigrants, or I would say specifically Nigerian immigrants, and people here, especially in the space of audit. The drive here is for efficiency. But back home, we don't really care about efficiency.
Yeah.
We care about fraud and people stealing money.
Yeah.
So as an audit partner back home, you'll probably be more worried that your associates or your team members haven't spent more time doing more procedures because you feel there's more propensity for fraud and embezzlement. But here, there's a drive for efficiency because they believe that they have systems here, and which they do, and they expect that the systems should work.
Yeah.
So it's a drive for efficiency. So coming from a background where we don't have a drive for efficiency, and you're put in the middle of a sink or swim situation where the drive is about efficiency, you would struggle. You would struggle. I know you worked in Big Four before, and then you begin to have conversations around timesheets.
Yeah.
You hear things like, last year it took someone 10 minutes. Why is it taking you 2 days? And then you're left, you don't even know how to defend yourself because your orientation you have is, I need to take my time to do a detailed oriented job. Because where I come from, there's more propensity for people to do stuff. But here, they believe the systems are working, they hardly ever run into this thing. So it's all about efficiency. And this conversation around timesheets is a big challenge for speaking for like my profession, right? Almost everybody who works in accounting space that have to do timesheets is one of the biggest challenges. Yeah,
I mean, even in government, there's timesheets. We fill in our time, some of the ministries and all of that. So yeah, it cut across. What are some of the what will I call it now? Unwritten rules. You gave an example of one, for example, where you talked about somebody sends you an email, and they are sending you an email and making a suggestion, but is actually something they want you to do. So there seem to be some unwritten rules, within the Canadian workspace that we're not used to in Nigeria, in Africa. Like small talks. Some of those unwritten. So do you want to mention a few of them that you've observed?
So I think one of the things I've observed is, like you said, small talk. You have to have something to talk about. I mean, for me, Sunday nights I always rack my head around what I'm going to say on Monday morning. Because you're always going to get the question, how was your weekend? What did you do?
Yeah, you're always going to get that.
And it's a huge cultural difference.
And it's not something they really care about.
It's just a culture of small talk. And then they talk about things that you really can't relate to. Like so many times they crack jokes and I'm struggling to understand what they're talking about because I can't relate background wise, right?
Yeah.
So those are like, you know, real challenges.
Yeah.
I think one of the unwritten rules that I would share and I think is very important is do not overshare information.
Ooh. That's powerful.
What your work doesn't need to know, they don't need to know. I'll give you an example. Let's say you're struggling with something at work and you just say informally to maybe somebody you don't even report to, like, oh, I'm struggling with XYZ, this. It can be inferred that you are incompetent from those small talks. So you really have to be careful about the sensitivity of information that you're sharing. However, no matter how personal it is, it can even be challenges in the home. Let me say, oh, maybe your dad is sick.
And these are things we easily discuss in the office in Africa, right?
These are the things we usually discuss in the office. Oh, my dad is sick, I have to take him to the hospital, or you and your spouse, you're having issues. Some of all these small talks that you think are harmless, a lot of them can be inferred to mean a lot of things that really do not apply to the workspace. So I always advise people, even with the small talk, don't overshare because it serves more disadvantage than an advantage, really. For me, that's my number one unspoken rule. Don't overshare. While I understand that you're trying to get used to the culture, you want to do small talk and whatnot, draw a line up beyond which, you know, the information you shouldn't be sharing in the office.
Another, I think maybe just to add to that would be, I think one of the things I struggled with was the ability to be very diplomatic in my emails. Email conversations, those correspondence, right?
Yes.
Somebody sends you your response, or you want to request for some, like, you have to really pause.
Yes.
And look at the language very well. They have some acceptable terms. You have to be subtle, you have to massage. Even if somebody is doing the wrong thing, you know, before you know it, if you miss that, it's a big problem. That's one of the things I really, you know, had to struggle with. I really had to struggle with. You know, so there are some of those unwritten rules that I feel most of our people don't know when they come, and they just jump in and they want to run with the culture and the knowledge they are coming with, and they run into trouble.
Yes, you're right.
So, have there ever been a time where you were misunderstood, or you were, you know, because of your accent, the way, maybe because of the color of your skin, where you were either misunderstood, or you would say you sensed some form of discrimination? Like, was there anything like that?
Oh yes,
that happened.
I come across that a lot, and I think I've gotten to the point where I'm kind of used to it. I think for the most part, people express shock because maybe as a result of lack of knowledge, they really don't expect like immigrants to be well educated or articulate or to be able to stand their own and have ideas. And I have a couple of experiences.
Do you want to share one or two?
I will share two experiences.
Right.
It was a long time ago. I had done a board presentation, and we were by, you know how they do presentations, they put food and small chops at the back, you know. So I was trying to make coffee, and this guy walks up to me and says, "Oh, you speak clear English to be African." And in my head, I'm like, "Oh, thank you." I actually thought it was a compliment. Till I go home and I started thinking about it. And the more I thought about it, the more I realized
that you were just being profiled.
I was just being profiled. It wasn't actually a compliment. And honestly, some of all those things are made so innocently and carelessly that even they themselves don't even know the implication. Another experience I had was, you know, I was in communications with somebody over emails, and I mean, my name is Peter, so a lot of people can't tell, like, you know, I'm of African descent, right? And we exchanged emails back and forth, and we then decided to have a meeting in person. So I booked a meeting room right across from my office. It was a Wednesday meeting, 10 a.m. I'd come in early, prep for the meeting, and then I saw the lady working with, one associate. And I walked into the
This
meeting
lady
room.
is Caucasian.
Yeah,
She's-
Caucasian, right?
yeah,
I walked into the meeting room and she's like, sorry, you're in the wrong meeting room. And I'm like, no. She's like, no, I'm pretty sure you're in the wrong meeting room because I'm supposed to be meeting someone called Peter. And I'm like, yeah, that's me. And like, she had the look on her face like, you're black. Like, you could tell the shock
Yeah, you could
because
tell the shock.
we've exchanged series of emails
Yeah.
and like, she just didn't know. And like, it just went downhill from there. Like, even the responses felt a bit cold. Emails just stopped coming in. Like, the general cooperation and the work was just downhill. And I experienced that a lot. When you interact with people firsthand, especially through emails, and you haven't either met in person.
Yeah,
or
they
got
are
on a
flowing
call,
with you and
they're
all.
flowing with you, and then when they get to meet you, there's just that change. Sometimes the change is so sublime that they don't even know they're doing it. Right? So it speaks to their core, wherein I think maybe, I don't know, I cannot presume for them, maybe they're nervous around people of color. They're not sure if they're saying the right thing or doing the right thing. So ultimately they just end up keeping to themselves. I would tell anybody, don't take it personal. Just keep your head down and do what you think is right. Always checkmate yourself. That's what I always say. Check with your peers to make sure that what you're doing is right, because you may not really be able to rely on your superiors to tell you if you're on the right path or not. So that's one of the technicalities of working as a professional here. You have to figure out a way within the system to make sure that you're doing the right thing, because anything you do or say can be misinterpreted as incompetence.
One of the biggest, I would say one of the most audacious thing I think we do, those of us from Africa, in our offices, is being able to, you go for a meeting, and in a hall of maybe 15 people, this circled hall,
Yep.
and you are the only person that looks like you in that hall.
Yeah. I know what you mean. I know what you mean.
Oh God. So how, I'm sure you've experienced that a couple of times.
Yeah.
What do you normally do in those circumstances to maintain your composure, not lose your self-confidence, and be on that, at that table and still able to represent yourself? How have you been able to manage that?
It hasn't been easy. It's like I said, initially when I came in, I dealt with imposter syndrome. And then I had to tell myself the hard truth that where I've got into is as a result of hard work and God's grace. So you have to give yourself credit. That's the first point of call. You really have to give yourself credit. And then have at the back of your mind that in whatever role you find yourself, you're an ambassador. Because how you do or how you perform in that role would affect somebody in the future. So that's
somebody of your race
in the future.
In the future, yeah.
So it's not just enough that you're in a role and then you're getting your paycheck and whatnot. There's that demand, in quote, on you.
The standard is higher.
The standard is higher
for us, yeah.
So when you find yourself in that setting, you come prepared. So you have to work twice as hard as an average person. I think since I've been in Canada, I've worked twice as hard as an average Caucasian, just to be seen.
Yeah, it's the same with everything.
Right?
Same thing.
And by the time you begin to put in this work, it would show, and it would help boost your confidence. And again, you need to have a very good support system. I know one of the things we've chatted about informally is having good mentorship, right? You cannot.
Did you have that?
That's one of the mistakes I made.
Yeah.
Because back home in Nigeria, I felt like I was a high flyer. So we don't need mentors.
Yeah.
But I quickly realized that you really need mentors. People who've been here longer than you, who's had experiences, for them to actually tell you about their experience so that you can learn, right? You mentioned something like board presentation or being in a room where you're the only black person.
Yeah.
I mean, if you sample people's experiences, they will tell you the things that they did to prepare
to prep.
So like I said, you're an ambassador, not just to yourself, but to your entire race. And how you perform.
That's very strong. That's
and how you perform.
So the load is a lot. The load is a lot.
So how you perform would not only affect you, but also affect those who are coming behind you. So we find situations whereby maybe an African has been in a role before, and then maybe the person has been strategically moved out and they are trying to fill that role. You sense a bit of hesitance, even as a black person applying to those roles. And it's not because you're not good in yourself, but
Right.
sometimes certain people leave bitter taste and bitter experiences in a lot of workplaces that makes it hard for them to trust an African. Because again, you have different educational background, different experiences, and all these things come into play when you're at work, right? So all that pressure is enough to break you. But if you can manage the pressure, it helps you become more refined as a person. You'll be able to stand your ground
Right.
and own your narrative, really.
Well, that's a very good point. You just that load. Even me, I feel it. Even on my job, I feel it because when you are they walk into a room and they can single you out
Yes.
just within 2 seconds.
Yes.
The light is on you, so you really don't want to mess things up. Your standard has to be higher than. So far in your career, what would you say has been your lowest point, and how did you come out of it?
I've had many low points, so to be honest, I can't count.
Share one with us that you would say hit you really, almost broke you. Did you ever have anything like that?
Oh, yes. I can't count how many times I've asked myself, did I really make the right choice coming abroad?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
you find yourself in certain situations and you be like, maybe I should just pack my bag and go back home. Because it's the emotions that come with it. And honestly, I think I've had low points in almost every place I've worked in because of that breakdown in communication or understanding, wherein I have a different background and a different understanding, and then the people I work with have a different understanding. And usually when it doesn't go well, it gets you. I mean, working in the Big Four space, Sunday nights used to be my saddest days.
Because you're going
because
back
I
to
know
work
I'm
on
going back
Monday.
to work on Monday. Right? And those are like really low pressure points because you're going into work, you're not sure what's going to happen. Like people live through this every day. Even during the week, you get an email, you're already fidgeting. Oh my God, what have I not done right now? Like, or someone says, I need to have a conversation with you.
Yeah.
Your mind is all over the place.
Yeah.
Because the first thing that comes in is self-doubt. Oh, what did I do now? What haven't I done? Right? Or you get a phone call and like maybe your office phone is ringing. You're already thinking maybe there's something they want to complain about. So those are like really low points.
Low points, yeah.
And I think everybody goes through that. I would want to say it gets better with time, but it doesn't. You just get used to it.
Wow, that's a sad reality.
It's a sad reality, but
it doesn't get.
I think it doesn't get better with time because I don't think there's anywhere you would work in that you wouldn't feel some of all this pressure. But I think over time, the more you've stayed in this country, you just get used to it. You just deal with it.
Yeah. And it seems for every level, there are new devils.
Yes.
There are new devils to fight.
Yes. In my career, I got to the point where I got tired of seeking growth because it just meant fighting more demons and more devils. And like I said, I got to the point where I needed to separate my identity from my achievements. So I'm at the point where I would take a job that gives me peace of mind over a job that either has a catchy name or a catchy role or pays top dollar. Right. For the sake of my mental health and sanity, I decided to separate those two entities. Like as a human being, who I am, what I stand for is different from what I'm able to achieve within the, professional space. Because if you keep marrying those two, you keep aspiring, and there's nothing wrong with aspiring. I'm not telling anybody not to aspire, but in aspiring, you really have to have a tough skin to deal with the pressures that come with it. And if you can't, it's okay. Like ultimately, the essence of life is not to spend your whole life laboring. Right? The essence of life is to enjoy the process of life. So what's the point being sad every Sunday morning when it's time to go to work? Or what's the point having heart palpitations and panic attacks when you get emails and phone calls. Like, I think there's more to life than that, and I think immigrants need to start knowing that
Yeah.
it's okay to pursue profession to a particular level and then put a peg on it, right? You're not just what you're able to achieve.
Yeah.
As a human being, your pressing, your value system is also, a huge part of who you are, right? And that counts for something, right? We come from an environment where we have to go to school, accolades is by the amount of school,
Yeah.
the quality of school
Yeah,
you've
the
been able to
quality,
go,
your position.
or the position you've been able to achieve.
Yeah.
If you come here with that mentality, you will run into a lot of mental health issues because you keep setting goals for yourself, which is not bad, but you don't have the support system
Right.
to enable you achieve those goals. So there will be a disconnect. And you will find out that either when you get to those goals, you're struggling because the support system is not there, or you actually don't even get to those goals and then you're beating up yourself because you feel you're not measuring up to your standards. So people really need to, take a step back and understand what really is the drive, right? It's not just enough to say I'm an accountant, I'm a CPA, I want to be a CFO. You need to ask yourself, why do I want to be a CFO?
Yeah.
If you are not convinced, my brother, peace of mind is far better than being in a position where you have sleepless nights, really.
I want you to speak to how important is it, in your opinion, you think it is for a person coming, an African immigrant, seeking a role, to be sure of their level of competence before jumping on those roles. I've had situations where people come in from Nigeria or other parts of Africa with PhD degrees. They've been directors, and now they are coming to work with a manager who some of them have not even they didn't even go to the 4 walls of a university.
Yes.
And these guys come on these jobs with this mentality of, oh, I know where I'm coming from and the kind of the stuff. And then they get to the real nitty-gritty of the job and they are struggling not to drown.
Yeah.
So how important is it that before you apply for a role, be sure that just know that this is war. You are entering a war front. So from your experience, what would you say to that?
I would say it is very important and we have to be true to ourselves. One of the fundamental problems is Nigeria is a certificate-oriented and driven country.
Yeah.
We get roles based on the amount of certificates you've been able to amass. Canada is a skill-based environment.
Yeah.
Nobody cares if you have a PhD or a master's.
Yeah.
They want to be able to see that you have the skill set.
Yeah.
So it takes you being honest with yourself. Beyond the master's, the PhD, the professional qualification, do I really possess the skill set for this role? So when you see a role, the title might seem inviting. The pay might be very, very inviting. But one of the things we always gloss over is that section where they put skill.
The skills. And
I
the job
believe most
description.
people never always read it. They just read the roles. I can do this. I can do this, I can do this. Nobody really pays attention to the skill part.
Right.
We just assume that with education should come skill. And that is where the disconnect is. So my advice is really look at the skill. If you're sure you don't have the skill, leave the role alone. Because even when you're able to wriggle your way through, like I said, you are an ambassador for people coming behind you.
Right.
If you mess it up, you spoil it for the people who actually have the skill set for the role.
Yeah.
Right. I have a friend who we talk from time to time. And one time he told me, see, man, I think I need to work on my temperament. And that conversation came from understanding that the skill set required for his role, he didn't have it. Because you work in a country where, as a boss, your staff doesn't do something right, you just fire it back.
Yeah.
If you try that here, you find yourself in lawsuit.
Yeah.
So for example, as a manager, as a director, as a CEO, these roles require different skill sets. And you need to spend time to understand your skill set and develop your skill set for a role. So it's not just enough that you have the knowledge in terms of certificate for a role.
Yeah.
You also have to check that you have the skill set for that role.
Yeah.
If you don't have it, develop the skill set first. So for example, I'll use Big Four as an example. You may have worked in Big Four for 10 years. You may have worked in different sectors, but you may not have the skill set for a senior manager. Your years of experience is not equivalent to skill sets.
Yeah.
Right? And one of the ways you can develop those skill sets is through volunteer.
Mm-hmm.
Right? There are a lot of associations that need people with finance background to volunteer. You know, maybe as you're volunteering, you're able to see a process from start to finish. You're able to mentor people. Mentorship is not just, oh, somebody reports to you, you read their report, you sign, it's good. No. It's ability to train and develop talent. So you need to be very, very honest with yourself to ask yourself, okay, for this skill set, for this job, this role that I want, if I don't have it, how can I develop the skill set? Before even thinking about jumping on it. Because we come from back home, we have all the certificates and all the degrees and all the years of experience, and we've worked on different teams. It doesn't translate.
It's not the same. It doesn't
and
translate.
if one thing you will notice is in Canada, we don't do job tests. You have interviews.
Yeah.
The reason why they do interviews is they try to look at two things. They try to gauge your skill set, one, and they try to see how you fit into the workspace.
Right.
Whereas in Nigeria, it's knowledge driven.
It's knowledge driven.
You want to get a job, you have to show that you are the smartest amongst the pack.
Yeah.
So there are two different systems.
Things. Yeah.
Right? So you need to develop your skill set and don't confuse your years of experience with skill set. It doesn't work that way. That's why you can see a 20-year-old, a 25-year-old being a manager and you're wondering how many years of experience does he have? No, the guy has skill sets because he goes playing golf with the clients and is able to bring in millions of dollars worth of job.
Yeah.
But you are an immigrant. You only know the people in your church. So what business are you bringing in to make you a manager or a senior manager? Right? He's able to interact with a lot of people whom they have similar culture with. He's able to, bring people together. But with your 20, 30 years of experience, maybe the only people you're able to bring together are your brothers and sisters. So you see, skill set is totally different.
It's different. Yeah. That's that's so on point. Right. So in rounding up, I want to ask maybe two questions together. So this is, if we're going to talk about this, we'll keep talking and there's a lot, right? There's a lot. And the truth is, the way we say it in Nigeria is uno go, no, no.
Yes.
We really cannot fully, the pressure people go through, from work, pressure from work, just trying to survive. And I find that, I think what makes the situation worse for our people is the fact that, and it's sad, is the fact that in that workspace with the challenges we go through, we like to work in silos. Everybody minding their business. That we do not have, we've not been wise enough to know the importance of community, of somebody availing him or herself to say, I want to mentor, and then even for somebody else to be humble enough to submit to say, I need mentorship. Today, as we speak, even today, I helped somebody review her CV. I spoke somewhere and the person went to check and said, oh, this is this guy's position. And she called me and she said, please, I've been on my position for 7 years. I've been trying to move. I'm frustrated. This, that. And I said, and she said, can I send my CV? I said, please send it. This is somebody I don't even know from anywhere.
Yeah.
If only we could have people with that kind of spirit. So what would you say to the importance of people like yourself that have, some of us that have spent a couple of years, we've been bruised, the importance of us availing ourselves to, to mentor people, and also for the new guys coming in, don't feel too highly of yourself. Yeah. Submit yourself to it would help. What would you say to that? If you have maybe an example, an experience to back that up as we wrap up, that would be great.
I would say it's very important.
Yeah.
It's very important and it goes both ways.
Yeah.
It's important for people who've been in the system.
Yeah.
To help those who are coming to find their feet.
Yeah.
it is also very important for the people coming
Yeah.
behind
Yeah.
to look for these people and try to learn from their experience.
Yeah.
Because if you're not learning from our experience, then the experience is useless.
True.
Because what's the point of going through all of this if I cannot impact the people coming
Yeah.
behind?
Yeah.
But then, like you said, you have to be able to avail yourself to it. And most times, they are not willing to avail themselves. I remember
Until when it's almost too late.
Until when it's almost almost too late.
Yeah.
I remember in one of the places I worked in, there was a new Nigerian. He had gone through the recruitment process and they were taking him around. And the person who was taking him around was, I think, was from one of the Caribbean countries. And like, was speaking to people and they'll be like, oh, have you spoken to Peter? You should go and talk to him. Or you say, oh, no, don't worry. I'll do it. And then he resumed. And everybody is minding their business, working in silos.
Yeah, everybody's working in silos.
And
it's sad.
I kept telling the people that, the person you say you should come and meet me. I haven't seen the
him
person.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, we've told him. And to be fair, let it not be like, oh, I'm a very wicked person. I actually went looking for this person to say, I heard you started the role. How's the role going? Like, it's going fine. Everything's good. I'm like, are you sure? Because this part that you're working, we've been here before. Yeah, no, everything is fine. Everything is good. Before he cried out for help, it was already too late. It was, and that's one of the examples. It was already too late.
Yeah.
Because here, perception spreads like wildfire.
Yeah.
So if you don't nip it in the bud at the start, you find out that people who haven't even worked with you don't want to work with you because they've just heard
the news
from grapevine that XYZ
things fly. True.
Right?
True. It flies.
And in all honesty, it might not be that you're not qualified for the role. Most times it is not that. It is just understanding the communication pattern and how to relate.
Yeah.
Right? And a lot of us miss it. And before you know it, I've had so many experiences of people.
So when you say it was too late for this guy, he lost his job. They told him to.
It was too late because the perception had already spread, and at this point, damage control wasn't even possible. Eventually, it was strategically.
It was strategically shown the way
out. And that I've seen it happen so many times.
Yeah.
Wherein a new immigrant has come in and then you try to do a, they call it a spot check or a wellness check, and then you're asking them, how are things going? And it almost feels like, the Nigerian in us, we don't want to let people know that we're struggling.
Yeah.
And then be like, oh, yeah, everything's fine, everything's good. And then before you know it, your pulse is already low. And there's almost little or nothing you can do. I remember there was even a particular person I worked with, and I'd heard through grapevines that, the guy wasn't advancing. And I kept reaching out to him. Talk to your counselor and ask them I've even asked them why you haven't been promoted in a couple of years.
Have one-on-ones.
Have one-on-ones. I kept encouraging him to have one-on-ones. And, it felt like, which one is your own now? Like, at some point, I had to, take a step back. And I think after a while, one of the informal conversations he was having, the person actually opened up that there's somebody who says, I don't believe you're ready for the next level because I don't understand what you say when you speak.
When you speak. Wow.
And for me, that's one of the flimsiest reasons why
somebody will not be promoted.
I mean, if you don't understand, ask questions, right?
Yeah.
But in cases like that, you can't come out and tell this person, oh, I heard somebody said you're not ready for the next level because even you have to protect yourself and be sensitive, right? So, like I said, it is very important for you to avail yourself to people who've been before you.
Yeah.
We can only progress through strong mentorship. And even as a mentee, you have to be ready to establish that relationship with the mentor. If not, like I said, you will be ruining a particular position, however small, for the next person coming behind you.
Yeah. Woo! honestly, this conversation will not end if we want to keep stretching it, because there's so many angles to it. And so,
Yes.
but we want to wrap it up here. So what I would just say is that for those of us members of our, people from from Africa, and you're working in the diaspora, you're coming into the workspace, just prepare. Just know that it's not a walk in the park. It's beyond having a job.
Yes.
It's beyond having a job and say, "Oh, I have a job." Is war, is fight. The workspace, the politics involved, the culture. If you walk into a workspace lackadaisical, you'll be in big trouble. Don't leave things to chance. If you leave things to chance, the workspace will not give you a chance. Let me put it that way.
Yes.
The fact that you look different, your level, the excellence they expect from you is way higher. And so prepare. You must be ready. Because what you have not mentally prepared for, you won't be able to manage it.
Yes.
So you need to understand what is at stake here as you're coming in. And like we've said today, we've talked about mentorship. We've talked about some of the shocks. We've talked about, and there's something you said that is quite sad, where you said it won't end. This struggle doesn't end within the workspace. No. As you even progress and you climb the ladder at different levels, there are different levels and different challenges.
Yeah.
So what is the way out? If you ask me, I would say surround yourself with strong support systems.
Yes.
Find that thing that gives you joy. Such that when you leave your 9 to 5, as soon as you clock out, you move into a space where you can refresh.
Yes.
I don't know what your support system is. Definitely my number one is my family. And then I have a couple of friends. I try to shut out from that work zone as soon as I clock out. Find a strong support system, a place where you find peace, where you can refresh, you can rejuvenate, you can refresh yourself. If not, a lot of people they go into mental crisis because of work challenges. And it is real. It's a real stuff in this part of the world. They are very brutal here. People are laughing with you. You can't trust anybody. You're not sure what they are thinking about in their heart. They are smiling at you. Just not too long ago, some time ago, I was working with somebody, a supervisor, who didn't speak to me for 1 month. No good morning. When I say good morning, no response. I knew how my heart. Every day I'm going to work and I'm wondering what's good. I hope all is well. It took wisdom for me to know what to do, how to go around that situation, and at the end of the day, I realized it's not as if I really did anything seriously wrong. But these people, because of the divergence in our culture, they don't do things the way we do things. And so there's a lot of adjustment to make when you come to this part of the world. And that's where mentorship. Look for someone who's been there, who's walked that path before, to hold your hand, somebody you can lean on, to help you navigate that path. So I think this has been a very informative session. And thank you, Peter, for sharing your experience. We can keep talking about this over, and it's a continuous thing. So long as you're within that space, you keep experiencing these things. Just find a way to survive.
Yes,
that's the best thing I would say. I'm sure you are still surviving.
Oh, we're still trying to survive.
You are still surviving. Because I wanted to ask you: would you say that you've settled in your career path, like all is well now, or you're still surviving?
We're still surviving. It's like the way I see it is, when you find yourself in a place, you try to survive. Once the fry pan becomes too hot, you hop. You move to the next one. You don't. I mean, if you find peace in a place, stay and grow there. Yeah. But if your mind and your heart is not settled, please, by all means, move. Yeah. Right. There's nothing wrong with moving. Yeah. And then one of the key takeaways that I would want to emphasize, beyond mentorship, beyond support system, separate your identity
from your achievements.
If
not, imposter syndrome.
Will hit you hard.
You always see yourself as a failure.
Let yourself know that whatever happens within the workspace is the workspace.
That's not who you are.
That's not who you are.
You are not what you do.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Wow. That's powerful. And I think that's a powerful way to end this conversation. I hope you've learned one or two things from this conversation. Like I said, if you have more questions concerning career advice, please send it on the comment section. We'll go through it, and then maybe in our next episode, I would respond to it myself. I believe you've picked one or two things from Peter's experience and also some of my experience that we've shared, and I believe that you will be helped at some point. You find some of this information helpful even as you navigate your work journey or your career journey here in the diaspora. Two things I like to say is keep surviving, keep thriving. And like Peter said, if you get a chance to be in a position, know that you're an ambassador and prepare that place for the next person that looks like you that's going to take that position. Give that person a chance.
A fighting chance.
A fighting chance.
Yes.
And that's a good place to end this conversation. So thank you, Peter, for adding your voice to our Sanctuary of Voices.
Thank you very much.
These are conversations that I believe would transcend time and space, would echo through time and space, and even the coming generation, new immigrants coming in would learn from it. And so that's a wrap from here for this particular episode. I would say keep being inspired, keeping your head high, don't lose your self-confidence, and just know that tomorrow is going to be a better day. Just keep holding on and keep pushing.
Echoes of stories that are dead. Echo with Wellington.